HN Elly, Elly, also known as HN Elly or Kirsten, is the witch that shows up in episode 4 of Madoka Magica. Her witch type is called the Box Witch, and her nature is covetous. Basically that means she hoards what she admires, trapping it behind glass, whether it's memories, objects, or even people. She's extremely reclusive and doesn't want to be seen, but she sees everything. Anyone caught in her barrier has their inner thoughts exposed like an open book. This witch doesn't attack out of rage or chaos. She's all about keeping what she treasures locked away. Her whole vibe feels like someone obsessed with the past, with frozen memories and moments she can't let go of. Her labyrinth is designed like a twisted snow globe. There's a Christmas tree, merry-go-rounds, piles of TVs, and this feeling of fake happiness covering something darker. When she dies, the decorations short-circuit. Inside her world, we also see Madoka's memories getting pulled up on screens, including images of Mommy dying. That's a gut punch for Madoka, especially since she was already feeling guilty. That guilt is what draws Elly to her. Her minions, Danielle and Jennifer, look like little creatures with TV heads, and their job is to move stuff around. Anything they touch becomes light and easy to carry. In episode 4, they swarm Madoka and distort her image. They even try to pull her apart, but Sayaka shows up just in time to save her and destroy Elly. Before Elly is completely wiped out, her monitor shows Mommy smiling, possibly her last boxed up memory. Homulilly. Homulilly is the witch form of Homura Akemi and has two main forms, both referred to as the Nutcracker Witch. Her theme is self-sufficiency, but it's twisted in a dark way. In her first form, she's basically a broken nutcracker who used to have a strong purpose but is now just stuck reliving her own execution over and over again, almost like she wants it, but her death wouldn't actually fix anything. In her second form, things get really disturbing. Her skull is melted, teeth are shattered, eyeballs are gone, but despite all that, she still holds on to the look of a magical girl. Her minions even call her failure and feel ashamed of her. Homulilly's world is like a never-ending funeral procession, and she's got a whole creepy crew to help her keep it going. The Clara dolls are weird dress-up dolls who fake cry to make the funeral look more dramatic. Each doll represents a negative trait like pride, cowardice, or laziness. The last one, love, hasn't shown up yet. Then there's Lotte, a tin soldier that punishes people and marches the witch to the guillotine. These soldiers have big, heavy heads, hate rats, and don't even listen to the witch. Louise Lotte rides a rotting tooth and hunts white rats. Lise is a weird bird that brings bad news but is kinda dumb and crashes into things because it can't see well. And Lilia is a nutcracker doll that chews up enemies and can even fire nuts like a cannon. Ichizo. Ichizo is the witch form of Kuroe, and her witch name is the Nighthawk Witch, and her nature is about escape. She's not a big, threatening type of witch. Her whole deal is that she runs. She ran from darkness, from hope that was too bright, from people she couldn't save, and even from the future where she was meant to be saved. She's stuck in this endless loop of running, never facing anything head on. Even in her own barrier, basically her witch's personal world, she just flies around chasing a red star that's always out of reach. Her wings and even her sense of self have melted into mud, so she has no direction or purpose anymore. It's like she exists and doesn't exist at the same time. Itzli. Itzli is known as the Witch of Oblivion, and her nature is vengeance. What's wild is that people say she used to be a magical girl from the end of the galaxy. That alone sets her apart. She's not even originally from Earth. Now she shows herself with the purpose of forgetting every magical girl in this universe. It's like she just wants to erase everything tied to that life, which might explain her whole vibe and powers. In the game, Itzli is the final boss of a barrier called Oblivious, which is found on floor 50. Her barrier looks like a grassy field, but it has weird stuff like film reels and a giant hole she pops out of. She doesn't have her own original familiars. Instead, she uses shadow magical girls that look just like the ones Walpurgisnacht uses. Her attacks are super aggressive. She can grow huge hands out of the goo surrounding her brain and literally crush enemies with them. One of her wildest moves involves turning all that goo into an arrow, launching it sky high, then slamming it back down. And when she summons witches and familiars, they have this fuzzy film grain effect, like they're being pulled straight from someone's old memories. Izabel. Izabel is called the artist witch, and her defining trait is vanity. She's full of herself. Izabel believes she's some sort of chosen genius, and she's desperate for people to admire her work. So desperate, in fact, that she constantly messes with the human world just to show off. But there's a catch. Inside her barrier, all her art looks strangely familiar, like stuff you've already seen somewhere. It's not original at all. That's the irony. She thinks she's groundbreaking, but she's basically just copying other people's work. You could beat her just by dragging a famous art critic into her barrier. That's how insecure her whole world is. When Izabel appears in the anime, she targets Homura during one of her low points. Homura ends up wandering into her barrier, and Izabel seems to speak to her, trying to manipulate her mentally, possibly even pushing her towards suicide. Homura realizes something's off just in time, but Izabel's minions, called Michaela, come after her. That's when Madoka and Mami show up and take care of Izabel with a joint attack. Her minion Michaela is not just a helper, she is the art. Every person Izabel kills ends up with their body parts built into Michaela. Kriemhild Gretchen. Kriemhild Gretchen is one of the most intense and overpowered witches in the entire series. She shows up in episode 10 in different timelines, and then again in episode 12 in her most insane form. What makes her wild is that she isn't just a monster out for destruction. Her nature is mercy. She honestly thinks she's saving the world by sucking up all life and dragging it into her barrier, which she believes is a kind of heaven. She's called the Witch of Salvation for a reason. The only way to stop her is to wipe out all misfortune on Earth, basically create a perfect world. And if that somehow happens, she'll think the world is already heaven and stop. Otherwise, she'll keep going until there's nothing left. Her minions are in charge of measuring the hearts of people who want to go to her heaven. They put your sins on a scale, and if you're super guilty, you might actually get more mercy from the witch. In Magi, a record, her doppel forms take things even further. In her regular doppel form, she becomes a massive floating soul gem that pulls everything in, controls it, and rains light arrows down while Madoka sleeps inside. The Haragi version ties into New Year's and grants people's wishes with so much force that it crushes everything under the weight of mercy. There's also a funny twist in the Madoka Senpai version. Her doppel literally kicks her out like she doesn't belong. Then you've got the swimsuit version, which turns her doppel into a giant ice cream sundae that freezes everything it touches. It's ridiculous, but it still follows the same weird logic, destroying the world through a twisted version of kindness. Marusya. Marusya is known as the Hanamichi witch, and her nature is resurrection. Marusya absorbs dead human bodies into herself and brings them back as her minions. She's not doing it to build power or take over anything, she just wants to give life back. But she can't really tell the difference between someone who's dead and someone who's still alive. That's a serious issue, especially when you're wandering around trying to collect bodies. In her labyrinth, there are tons of minions crammed under the runway-like path, which shows just how many corpses she's managed to bring back. Her minions are called the Hanamichi witch's minions, and they're basically people she's already reincarnated. These minions constantly mutter complaints, but they're not really thinking. Their brains are just stuck on repeat, replaying whatever they were thinking right before and after they died. So whatever they're saying is just noise, nothing helpful. Dorothy Motherfucker. Dorothy Motherfucker, yeah, that's actually her name in the anime. She's the final form of Alina Gray, who basically went off the deep end. Alina let her own doppel called Fever devour her, then infected and took over the body of a massive biological entity named Embryo Eve. The result was a full-blown fusion that turned her into this chaotic god-complex witch named Dorothy Motherfucker, though some people just call her Alina Eve or Dorothy for short. In this state, Alina doesn't just look monstrous. She can spread her doppel like a disease to tens of thousands of people all at once. When they get infected, they turn into artificial magical girls. These people can be any age, any gender, and boom, they've got magic. But like regular magical girls, they have to use grief seeds to stay sane. If they don't, they'll get taken over by the fever doppel and become witches themselves. It's a huge power-up, but it comes with that classic Madoka-style catch. Alina doesn't see this as a curse, though. She calls it art. In her words, humanity's prosperity is the price. Magic without needing physical strength or social status is the price. And honestly, she doesn't even think a price is necessary. She believes in free-of-charge magic distribution is God, which is basically her way of saying everyone should have magic, no strings attached. Originally, Embryo Eve was supposed to absorb Tuka, Nemu, and Walpurgisnacht to perfect the doppel system, but Alina hijacked the whole plan and went rogue. In episode 25 of the anime, she fuses with Eve, turns into Dorothy Motherfucker, and immediately goes after Walpurgisnacht. Tuka and Nemu land a solid hit, blowing off part of her body and a wing, but she regenerates and keeps pushing forward. She sees Walpurgisnacht get destroyed by Madoka Kaname, but doesn't get much time to react before Iroha and Yachio shut her down for good. Oktavia von Seckendorff. Oktavia von Seckendorff is the witch form of Sayaka Miki, is known as the mermaid witch, and her whole theme is about falling in love. Once Sayaka gives in to despair, she transforms into Octavia, and her world becomes a massive moving concert hall. She's obsessed with music and stuck in her memories, especially one involving a guitar performance that meant a lot to her. Her design includes armor, a long cape, and she attacks using giant wheels and swords. The creepy part is that her orchestra minions, called Hogers, constantly perform music for her, and anyone who listens for too long risks losing their soul. In her labyrinth, nothing matters to her anymore except the music. She doesn't even react when Kyoko slices off her hand. In episode 9, Kyoko tries to save Sayaka by bringing Madoka into Octavia's world, but Octavia lashes out and attacks them. Eventually, Kyoko sacrifices herself to destroy Octavia, hoping she could be with Sayaka in the end. In episode 10, we see a version of Octavia in another timeline. This time her world looks more like a rock concert than a symphony, and instead of Holger, she has Clarissa as her minion. cheerful backup dancers who kind of look like Hitomi. In that timeline, all 4 girls team up to fight her, but Homura ends things fast with an explosive. Octavia also shows up in the Rebellion story, but this time she's summoned by Sayaka, who's become part of the Law of Cycles. Now, Octavia isn't just a mindless witch. Sayaka controls her and uses her in battle. She can show up anywhere there's water, and unlike some witches, her witch form and human form can operate separately. Ophelia. Ophelia is the witch form of Kyoko Sakura and is a wudon witch, based on the fierce female warrior type from Chinese opera, and represents self-abandonment. After everything Kyoko's been through, losing her family, failing to protect Sayaka, she eventually breaks down and transforms into this tragic, fog-wandering witch. Ophelia walks endlessly through mist with empty footsteps, and she's so far gone that she doesn't even remember what her constant companion, the horse-like creature beside her, used to be. That detail says a lot. She's lost not just her way, but even the memories that used to guide her. In battle, Ophelia is not really headless, but it looks that way at first. Her head is a flat surface with a candle flame on top, and there's actually an eye beneath the fire. Her barrier is full of marching minions named Zoe, who wear colorful warrior outfits. These things just walk through the fog in perfect formation. They look almost like they're doing a ritual or a funeral march. Some of them attack by turning their heads into dragon-like forms and breathing fire, while others can summon more troops or do powerful melee strikes. Oshiti. Oshiti shows up in a flashback battle against Yachio Nanami's team and is defeated just before Kanai Yukino's death. Oshiti is called the Gokuman Witch, which links to a brutal Edo period execution method in Japan, where someone was beheaded and their head was put on display. Fittingly, Oshiti is literally just a head, hanging upside down in her labyrinth. She's been convicted of sin, and now she spends her time weeping and waiting for someone. But her voice doesn't sound normal. It comes out as deadly heat rays that burn everything around her to ash, even if she's just trying to talk. So if anyone enters her labyrinth, even if they're the person she's waiting for, they're basically doomed the second she opens her mouth. Her whole barrier is filled with gravestones, each one tied to a sin she committed or an innocent person with a lingering regret. Oshiti isn't alone in her labyrinth either. She's got minions called Suzugamori, named after a real execution ground in Japan. These minions actually punished her by stringing her up in the first place, but they're not satisfied that she's just a head. They're out looking for her missing body. They grab intruders while Oshiti, without meaning to, fries them with her voice. The teamwork between them is weirdly effective, even though it's not on purpose. The minions get caught in her blast too sometimes. They even leave the labyrinth sometimes to find something, or someone, that could replace her torso. They don't care if it fits. They just go with whatever feels right.